every psychological trick governments use explained. Your government is literally using the same brain-hacking techniques that were perfected on prisoners of war in Korean torture camps. And I'm not talking about some conspiracy theory. I'm talking about documented psychological warfare that's happening to you right now as you scroll through TikTok. The CIA spent $25 million. That's in 1950s money, so like $200 million today, studying how to break human minds. And then they just gave those techniques to politicians. By the end of this video, you're going to realize that every political ad, every news alert, every breaking news notification is basically psychological warfare disguised as information. And your friends absolutely need to see this, because once you know these tricks, you can't unsee them. This all started in 1951 when American soldiers in Korean prison camps began confessing to war crimes they never committed. The Chinese weren't using physical torture. They were using something way more terrifying. They figured out how to hack human psychology. Think of it like this. If Netflix made a horror documentary about mind control, but instead of being fiction, it's your actual government's playbook. And instead of watching it for entertainment, you're living in it. The techniques I'm about to show you are being used on you right now, every single day, by democracies, dictatorships, and everyone in between. The only question is, how obvious are they being about it? Technique number 5, the anchoring effect. Let's start with technique number 5. The anchoring effect, or as I like to call it, how they make you think $5 gas is actually reasonable. This technique was first documented by psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky in the 1970s. These guys were basically the evil geniuses of behavioral economics, except they thought they were helping humanity understand decision-making. Plot twist, they accidentally created a government manipulation handbook. Here's how anchoring works in politics. When your government wants to do something unpopular, let's say raise your taxes, they don't just announce the real number. First, they leak a much scarier number to create panic. Obama's team did this masterfully during healthcare reform. Initial leaked proposals suggested government healthcare might cost families $15,000 annually. Twitter exploded. Your conservative uncle started stockpiling canned goods. Then they announced the compromise, only $3,000 in new costs. And here's the twisted part. People felt grateful. Your brain, anchored to that terrifying $15,000 number, suddenly thought $3,000 was reasonable. It's basically like if your mom grounded you for life, then generously reduced it to 6 months. You'd thank her instead of being angry. Trump used this with tariffs, threatening 60% on China, implementing 25% and calling it tough but fair. Biden's doing it right now with student loan forgiveness amounts. Because nothing says we care about your financial future like psychological manipulation disguised as negotiation. The scariest part, this works on literally everything. Military spending, environmental regulations, immigration quotas, they always start with an extreme number to make the real number seem reasonable. It's like Black Friday psychology, except instead of discounted TVs, it's your entire worldview. Technique number 4, social proof manipulation. But wait, it gets worse. Technique number 4, social proof manipulation, or everyone else is doing it, so should you, except everyone else might literally be paid government employees. China employs over 2 million people. That's larger than the entire population of Houston, Texas, just to post positive comments about government policies online. They're called the 50-cent army because they allegedly earn 50 cents per post. Imagine your job description being professional internet troll for the Communist Party. That's someone's actual career. They wake up, drink coffee, and spend 8 hours pretending to be regular citizens who just love government surveillance. But here's where it gets absolutely dystopian. They don't just post positive propaganda. They flood social media with so much conflicting information that regular people give up trying to figure out what's true. It's like information warfare designed to cause mental exhaustion. During World War II, the US government created fake grassroots movements to build support for entering the war. They literally hired actors to attend town halls and ask planted questions. Today, it's called astroturfing, fake grassroots movements that look organic but are actually orchestrated. Russia perfected this during their 2016 election interference. They didn't just support one candidate, they created fake accounts supporting ALL candidates, then had them fight each other online. The goal wasn't changing minds, it was making Americans so confused and exhausted they'd stop participating in democracy entirely. Basically, they turned American political discourse into a reality TV show where everyone's the villain and the audience just wants to change the channel. Except you can't change the channel because it's your actual government. Technique number 3, the scarcity principle. Now we get to technique number 3, the scarcity principle, or making you panic about things that aren't actually scarce. Remember toilet paper in 2020? That wasn't actually a supply shortage, it was manufactured panic. And governments have been using artificial scarcity to control behavior for literally thousands of years. Here's how it works. Create the perception that something essential is running out, and people will do absolutely anything to get it. During the Cold War, both the US and Soviet Union constantly talked about missile gaps and technology gaps that mostly didn't exist. The goal was to keep citizens scared enough to support massive military spending. Modern governments do this with everything from energy to housing to jobs. We need to act now, or we'll fall behind China in AI development. There's a critical shortage of skilled workers. We're running out of time to address climate change. Some of these might be true, but the urgency is always cranked up to 11 because panic makes people compliant. The European Union used this masterfully during Brexit negotiations. Every deadline was final. Every offer was take it or leave it. Every delay was portrayed as catastrophic. It didn't matter that trade negotiations typically take years. They needed the UK to feel like they were about to miss the last helicopter out of Saigon. North Korea has turned this into an art form. Their entire society is built around the idea that they're constantly under imminent threat from foreign invasion. Citizens accept food shortages, travel restrictions, and complete surveillance because they believe the alternative is annihilation. It's like Black Friday psychology, except instead of discounted electronics, it's your entire political system. The message is always the same: act now or lose everything forever. Technique number 2. Cognitive dissonance exploitation. This brings us to technique number 2. Cognitive dissonance exploitation, or making your brain hurt until you give up. This is probably the most evil one because it literally weaponizes your brain's desire to make sense of the world. Cognitive dissonance is that uncomfortable feeling you get when you hold two contradictory beliefs at the same time. Most people will do anything to make that feeling go away, including abandoning logic entirely. Authoritarian governments are absolute masters at this. They'll simultaneously tell you that the economy is booming and that foreign enemies are destroying your prosperity, that the government is incredibly powerful and constantly under threat, that you're part of the greatest nation on earth, and that everything is falling apart. Your brain can't process these contradictions, so it just stops trying. It's like a mental blue screen of death. And in that confused state, you become incredibly susceptible to simple, emotional messages. The Soviet Union did this for 70 years. Citizens were told they lived in a worker's paradise while standing in bread lines, that they were the freest people on earth while being unable to travel or speak freely. Eventually, most people just accepted the contradictions and stopped questioning anything. China does this today with their social credit system. They tell citizens it's for their own safety and convenience, while simultaneously using it to control every aspect of their lives. The cognitive dissonance is so intense that many people just embrace it rather than deal with the mental stress of resistance. Even democratic governments use this. During the 2008 financial crisis, banks were simultaneously too big to fail and pillars of the free market. The war in Afghanistan was both nearly won and requiring indefinite commitment for 20 years straight. It's like being gaslit by an entire political system. Your brain gives up trying to make sense of it all, and you just accept whatever simple explanation they give you next. Technique number 1, learned helplessness. Now we get to the most terrifying technique. Number 1, learned helplessness. And I need to warn you, This one was literally developed by torturing dogs. I'm not being dramatic, that's the actual scientific origin story. In 1965, psychologist Martin Seligman conducted experiments at the University of Pennsylvania, where dogs received electric shocks they couldn't escape. Eventually, even when escape became possible, the dogs wouldn't try. They had learned to be helpless. You're probably thinking, okay, but that's dogs, not humans. Wrong. Governments figured out this works on people too, and it's way more effective than physical oppression. The goal isn't to stop you from doing specific things. The goal is to make you feel like your actions don't matter at all. Ever wonder why government websites look like they were designed in 1995? Why bureaucracy is intentionally frustrating? Why voting systems are deliberately confusing? It's not incompetence, it's psychological warfare. They want you to feel like engaging with the system is pointless, so you'll just stop trying. Russia uses this on a massive scale. They don't just arrest protesters, they arrest people randomly, unpredictably. The message isn't, don't protest specific policies. It's, don't try to change anything because the system is arbitrary and unstoppable. Here's the most insidious part. Once learned helplessness sets in, people will defend the system oppressing them. They'll argue that change is impossible, that this is just how things work, that anyone trying to improve things is naive or dangerous. It's like Stockholm Syndrome, but for entire populations. And you thought your relationship with your ex was complicated. Even in democracies, this happens subtly. Complex legislation that no one can understand, voting districts that get redrawn constantly, political processes that seem designed to exclude ordinary people. The message is clear. This isn't for you. Don't even try. The modern reality. Here's what makes this absolutely terrifying in 2024. These techniques are more powerful now than they've ever been because of smartphones and social media algorithms. Every time you see a trending topic, that's artificial scarcity. Every time you get overwhelmed by conflicting news stories, that's cognitive dissonance, exploitation. Every time you feel like your vote doesn't matter, that's learned helplessness in action. Your government doesn't need to control newspapers anymore. They just need to understand TikTok's algorithm. It's like having a psychological warfare department disguised as a social media marketing team. And here's the really messed up part. Private companies are using these same techniques to sell you stuff and keep you scrolling. So you're getting psychologically manipulated by governments and corporations simultaneously. It's like being in a mind control sandwich, except instead of ham and cheese, it's authoritarianism and capitalism. Remember when your biggest worry was whether your crush would text you back? Now you have to worry about whether your own government is using military-grade psychological warfare to influence your breakfast cereal choices. The ultimate irony. So here's the ultimate irony that's going to blow your mind. I just spent explaining how governments manipulate you using psychological tricks. And I used psychological tricks to keep you watching. The countdown format? That's artificial scarcity. The shocking statistics? Anchoring effect. The your friends need to see this framing? Social proof manipulation. The difference is, I told you what I was doing. Your government probably won't. But here's your defense. Next time you see a political announcement, ask yourself, what psychological button are they trying to push? Are they making me feel scared, angry, or helpless? Are they creating artificial urgency about something that's been a problem for decades? Because once you see the matrix, you can't unsee it. And that's the only real protection against having your brain hacked by people who definitely don't have your best interests at heart. Sweet dreams, and remember, your government loves you so much they've spent decades studying how to control your thoughts. Isn't that romantic? Now, go share this with someone who needs their worldview completely destroyed. They'll thank you later, or they'll never speak to you again. Either way, you'll be the most interesting person in the room.